Welcome to the Marriage Puzzle Podcast with Julie and Thomas Hobby. We are marriage coaches who help couples with pain points about money, intimacy, and communication go from being overwhelmed to being secure in their marriage.
If this is your first time listening to us, thanks for checking out our podcast. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a rating and a review. Let's dive into this episode.
Thanks for hanging out with us again this week. We are wrapping up our Lack of series that we did during the month of October with talking about the lack of sex. And this is something we don't shy away from, right? We talk about money, communication, and sex a lot because we think those are like really, really important in your marriage. So we're talking about this lack of sex because it's kind of a relatable season. You guys know that we have our fourth baby in the NICU. He just turned 19 weeks, so we're still on the back and forth drive to and from the hospital.
Yeah, our schedules are pretty opposite most days.
We're just kind of passing, high-fiving, and so lack of sex is relevant right now in our marriage, but that's why we thought we could bring something to the table for this episode, because if you've listened to previous episodes, not to be mistaken, we've been outspoken about our frequency, which to some couples might that was a lot, when before all this season happened. And so we were pretty frequent, something that we really wanted to get better at in our marriage. And then you probably even listened to episodes where we talked about other ideas of how to connect when you can't have sex, when I was going through a hard pregnancy and on bed rest. And so now we're back, but it's schedules got us in different places. And when we have time together, we just record a podcast.
Right.
So it's relevant, but unfortunately, it's really relevant for a lot of other couples, right? And I think it's just because people just kind of get in this rut, and like once there's lack of sex and they go days, weeks, months, they just can't keep stalling out because they're maybe waiting for someone to initiate it, or they think they need a big romantic getaway to jumpstart. Like it's this big ordeal, right? That they make up this big thing in their head to maybe justify the lack of
all the time that's been missed, or whatever.
And then they just stay not having sex. So we're going to talk about some maybe ideas to help combat that.
Yeah, and this is going to be a relatively basic episode in that regard. We're not going to like dive into the, philosophical reasons of why this happens or anything like that. We just are trying to get some practical ways out there to help you out with this and just kind of get you back on track. And ultimately, what it boils down to is you just have to start. You just have to do it again. And did you catch what I did there?
Just do
you
it.
Just have to do it again. That didn't even occur to me until I
Nike.
heard myself.
Nike's got it.
But if it's something that's lacking in your relationship, then basically, just schedule a time, get it done, and you'll be able to get the momentum going again.
Yeah, I think that's like, people think, why would you schedule sex? That's not romantic, or, the point. It's just like you're checking it off a to-do list. And don't get us wrong, there's been previous episodes that there's more to intimacy than that. But if there's a lack of sex, if that is relatable to you, then that is what would turn it around, is to just kind of get one in so that you can connect again and then go from there and keep it up.
Right. And I would say that scheduling it can also work for you in times to help prevent a lack. So if you're going into a life season that's about to be really busy, or something has happened, then that might be a time to try and get proactive before you kind of get into that rut. A lot of times we can't catch it on the front end though, and that's okay. So you have to then kind of pull yourself back out of it, but you can utilize it in that way as well. So yeah, just do it, get the momentum going, and keep going.
Yeah, so that's like our season, or if you're traveling, one spouse, it's like, oh, you're leaving Friday. Okay, Thursday we gotta do this. Like, and it just sounds, you know, so blunt. I don't know, but it's just because you're just talking about it. You're both then you're thinking about it. You can be on the same page, and you're not just like, oh, we're gonna be so rushed. We'll just wait till you're back, because then another week will come by and
Or if you don't talk about it ahead of time or plan something ahead of time, you're just going to be kind of like doing this little awkward eggshell dance around each other, trying to figure out like, okay, are they into it before I go or not, or should we wait, or whatever. And then this has happened to us multiple times. It's been like, well, I thought I was trying to give you signals, and you're like, I didn't know that, and I would have totally taken you up on that. And it's just like, sometimes you just kind of have to be blunt and get it out there.
So you had an idea around this.
Yeah, I did. I'm glad you reminded me. I was actually thinking about this just today, not even planning the episode. I was just thinking about this, and if this idea would work for us. I was, thinking of this concept of, passing something back and forth to each other. I don't know exactly what, but think of like a playing card or something like that, or a trinket or something that, if I'm the one holding it, you have to kind of create rules around this game. But if I'm the one holding it, I have to like give it to you. And then when I give it to you, that means we're having sex that day. Like no excuses, no backing out, no,
You've been served.
I'm too tired. Yeah. Something like that. And you set up all the rules on the front end, but it's like, hey, when I play this card, this draw 4 card in Uno or whatever, you're this is what we have to do, and
we get to do what we get to do.
Sure.
I think of it that way because when you brought that to my attention, I could have laughed it off and been like, "That's so corny," or I kind of was like, actually. It's then maybe a spontaneously scheduled because it's not as blunt as Thursday night at 9 p.m., or every Thursday at 9 p.m. and how boring that can also become.
Right.
So it's a little bit more spontaneous. Like it's scheduled saying it's going to happen, the next 12 hours or something. But spontaneous meaning you didn't just put your hand on my leg and expect me to like respond to you right then, because that sometimes in my own experience where I'm like, no, like I'm exhausted, or I was going to go do this, or my walls go up because I wasn't planning it. So then there's that disconnect and you feel rejected and I'm like, what are you thinking?
And it sorry.
I was just gonna say, but then when you play it, then it's like, okay, now I can start thinking about it. Now I can start planning in my head. I can get ready for it. I can get excited. That's why I said you get to. And I'm a lot more open to it than right then in that exact moment, at least in this season that we're in.
Well, and it's kind of a much more obvious initiation, right? We've talked quite a bit about who should be the one to initiate sex, and we've even gone through that in our relationship of who is feeling like the other needs to initiate it and so on. But that's just kind of like an obvious thing, like here, boom, initiated, like within the next 12 hours, like we're doing this. And so it just really makes it obvious and out in out in front. And you can then create some other rules around it. I mean, we were just kind of spitballing some rules as I was telling you about this, but you could say like, once completed, then now you hold it and you have to use it in X number of days. If not, then it's automatic, transition back at the end of that timer or whatever. You have a certain amount of time, and gives you a little bit of freedom, but also keeps you on a schedule of making sure that you're getting it in and not kind of falling off that routine of having sex with your spouse. So
yeah, or figure out what your thing is. If it's like a special emoji that you text or say something and
Your little inside joke or,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, code word
Hmm.
or whatever. But I think that would be helpful to turn the lack of sex back into just start and then keep it up with that kind of schedule or these fun things. And I like that kind of taking turns too, so it's not just one person always
Initiating.
initiating it. Where that's exhausting for them,
Hmm.
honestly. And as much as I want to be pursued, it's sometimes fun to play that card, to use your terms, as well, and you know, excite you like, oh, you're wanting this, you're wanting me.
Right. Yeah,
And so
because even though there would be rules around it that you would have to play it in a certain amount of time, it gives you that freedom to still choose whether it's 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and within that time frame, how quickly you play it back, and that then, lets the other person know, like, oh yeah, you are just exactly what you're saying. You are into me. I jokingly labeled it sex tennis earlier, because like that it's like a volley back and forth,
yeah.
between spouses. So maybe the tennis ball emoji could be your thing.
I
So
didn't think about
uh,
that. That's funny.
so maybe we'll put this throw this out on Instagram, and we want to see the
The
tennis ball emoji comments coming through.
What have you started? I was gonna say hashtag, and then I was like, "Don't keep that in my mind. Don't say that. That would get weird." So okay, maybe I don't think we get flagged for a tennis ball emoji,
Yeah.
but oh my goodness, yeah. I think the point is to just do it and then keep doing it, so that there's not a lack of sex. But I really, really hope that once you do it, whether it's scheduled or this fun stuff, that then you want to do it again. And again, stop overthinking the long gaps of sex or why or what that means, and start reading into it. Just connect with your spouse today, tonight. And then when you do it, figure out when you're going to do it again, and keep that momentum going so you can combat the lack of sex.
Totally. And just last quick little practical tips that we have for you to try and help you out. Go check out our website, marriagepuzzle.com/partnerships. And we've got some partners listed on there that you might want to go check out to kind of help you kind of re-energize things, this area of your marriage. You can go check out the Intimately Us app, which is a really cool app that just partners with your spouse. So, you're not partnering with any other people, and you can kind of go through the different activities and things like that they have on there. And then we've got a partnership with Romantic Blessings, which is essentially an online sex shop, I guess, a sex retailer, toys, lingerie, all kinds of stuff that can spice things up for you. But it's a Christian-friendly shop, retailer. So there's no nudity or anything like that involved on there. So safe to check out together with your spouse, and kind of go through that and help you spice things up there too.
Because once you start connecting again, we always encourage you to talk about the topics that we're talking about. So talk about sex, and if that's hard or embarrassing to do, that's where I love the Intimately Us app, because it does give some prompts and questions and things like that, just conversation starters. So you don't have to just sit down and like look at each other's eyes and don't know where to go. Start there with the app that also is a very safe, no nudity, no raunchy stuff, but good information and a safe place to open up.
So, as always, make sure you go check us out on social media. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Marriage Puzzle. Check out our website, marriagepuzzle.com, where you can find out more about our marriage coaching and schedule a free discovery call with Julie and myself, and we can see how we can help you directly in your marriage. And we look forward to you. Let's try that again. We look forward to you joining us next week, where together we'll work on marriage one puzzle piece at a time. See you later.
Bye.